Fairy Trails Farm. Today I'm going to show you this awesome vintage pot holder that I got at an antique store. It has a little bit of damage up here, but it was so cute that I decided I thought I needed to make a copy of this. I looked all over online and I could not find the transfer. It's a simple design, so I studied it and I'm just going to replicate it. I mean, it's just basically a bonnet shape, and I traced that and I made it a little bit larger than this. This is sort of a small pot holder. So I made the pattern piece. Basically, you have two of those, and I'll upload this so you can print it off. You'll have two of these, and then there's a face. It's a little, the nose and stuff's a little bigger because I'm gonna have to turn those edges under after, you know, to applique it onto the bonnet. So what it is you have one blank or plain fabric. This is a piece of muslin. You have one print, and then you have this narrow face that goes in here. And if you see, since I made it bigger, the face will fit in there. And so you embroider the face, and then you're going to applique the face onto this fabric, and then the lace that you sew on gives the appearance that the face is behind the bonnet. But there's no slipping it behind fabric or anything. It's just appliqued on top of it, so it's an illusion with the lace. And then there's actual embroidery on the bonnet. So what I'm going to be doing today is, and if you watched the, I think it was the cat pot holder that we talked about transferring of illustrations, I am going to use some transfer paper. And we talked about this, but just in case you haven't watched it, you can buy transfer paper in fabric stores, maybe Walmart. I usually get mine online, Amazon, Hirschner. It's just, that's all it's called, it's transfer paper. And it comes in different colors. I usually just get the cheap black, standard black kind. You can get different colors if you want it. One sheet will last a long time. I tend to use it over and over again, and then until I actually see shredding or holes. I have these two. They were actually tea towels, but I'm using them for fabric. And they're both like a peachy flesh color. Your flesh, you can do whatever kind of flesh color you'd like. And I'm not going to be cutting them out because I need to embroider them. So I want to put this in my hoop. So I want to make sure I get it. So I'm just going to be putting it on, and I think I said I was going to do 6 of these. Let's see, I picked out some fabric, different fabrics. Let's see, 4, yeah, 5, 6, I think I'm going to do 6. So I picked out some fabric for the bonnet, and then I have some just plain white fabric for the backing, and I have some muslin, just depending on whatever I decide thinks goes better with the fabric. And then I've picked out, you know, various different, I got some different colored laces, I got some thinner laces. But currently what we're going to do is I'm going to pin my face down here. Remember this will wash out when you wash it the first time. So I've made my face pattern, and all I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I put the black or the solid color side down, and this lighter paper side will be facing me. And I'm just going to take a pin and I'm just going to trace my illustration. Okay, so I have the 6 faces. And I can embroider those now, tracing directly onto the fabric. So here. So I got my 6 backs. Okay, so I have my 6 backs cut. Pull those up for right now. There won't be any embroidery on those. That's just the back. And then I have my 6 bonnets that I'm going to do, and I'm not cutting them out yet because I want to do the embroidery and I want to be able to put them in my hoop, and after I embroider them then I won't cut them out until after I'm going to applique the face onto them, and then do the little curl of hair and possibly part of the lips to make it look not as flat there. And I will cut them out so that we have the 6 bonnets, 6 backing, and we have the 6 faces, which will be embroidering. And then I have my little pile of lace over here, which I'm going to leave there. I'll go embroider it, and when I come back, we'll be constructing it. We're going to need some sort of, like in the cat potholder video, if you watched it, I used some old washcloths that I had that we were no longer using in the house. I might go see if I have any more of those, or a thin towel that can be cut up. You can use ratty dish towels. We've talked about the use of batting. If you use a synthetic fiber-filled batting, it can melt because it's synthetic, so I don't want to use a synthetic batting. And if you use cotton batting, you're really going to need to either stitch all the way through in maybe a couple spots, or do some tacking, like tying like you would a quilt, because cotton batting has a tendency to bunch up, even when it gets old and breaks down and it starts bunching up, and I don't want that. So I'm probably going to look around and find an old dish towel, a couple old dish towels, probably one dish towel. I could get at least 2 innards out of it, so I might, if I could find 2 ratty dish towels, I might be able to get 3, like terry cloth dish towels. I might be able to get 3 on that. I don't know what I got out in the rag box. I'll have to go see. So that's where we stand on that, and when I come back, we will put it all together. I finished both of applique. I saved one, don't worry, that we're gonna do together. I've done the applique on the pink fabric, and the embroider on the bonnets, and the embroidery on the different bonnets that we have here. I did 5 of them. I saved the 6th one to do together here. I have those 5, and we have one that we're going to do together. We need to applique the pink face part onto the bonnet part. If you watched my video on how to hand applique, that was a different kind of applique. You could do this one like that, but we're not. We are basically just going to be doing basting, like a basting stitch, but it's not a basting stitch because you want it to really stay on there. So I've ironed my face, and remember I did stitching lines, and I cut about 1/4 of an inch around the lines, so I know I'm going to fold it under on the line. And it's easier, I think, just to hold it and fold it and crease it with like my fingernail instead of trying to pin it all. So I've got 1 pin to hold it in place is what I've done. And then I'm just going to go around. I've got it on a hoop. And I'm just sort of doing a running stitch around the face. But I'm doing a back stitch every couple stitches. It's not like a complete running stitch. It just, it's like quilting. Like a quilting stitch is what I'm doing on top of the fabric here. Just trying to make it as straight as possible as we go around. Now I did iron, after I did all of my embroidery, I ironed all the pieces, so that makes it nice and easy to put onto my fabric. And if you don't exactly get the line all the way under, remember it will wash out. So because after I got done putting it on here, I felt like there was a lot of loose fabric that wasn't appliqued down. I just went around my lips. It's not, you can't see it obviously, and that's the point. Just did a stitch around the lips. And then I came up under here and did a little, just a little arrow for a nostril. So you can sort of, I wanted that to sort of draw attention to that, because, you know, it's a nostril and everything. And then I came up here, see if I can do it without running out of thread. And I did the same thing I did with the lips around the eyes. That sort of just anchored it there right in the middle of the fabric. And again, this isn't necessary. I just like to find ways when I make things to make them as stout, is that a good word, as possible, that they're going to hold up over multiple years of being used. Okay. All right, so that's what we did on that. Now, what is next? The little curl. Okay, so on the curl, I just sort of, we did do 2 loops that when we were doing the transfer, if you remember. But I just sort of freehand outline stitched a curl. And so all of mine are just a little bit different. And again, this was another way to further anchor that applique to the print bonnet fabric. And I just did an outline stitch, and I will refer back to the cat potholder where I actually demonstrate how to outline stitch. Now, what does that leave? Cut them out and match them up. I think we're going to do the lace. It will be the last thing that we do. So let's cut them all out. And I did find some old dish towels that I'm going to use for the insides. Alright, now we have our little bonnet girls. And I have the backs. So let's cut. So what are we going to do now? Let's get our bonnets. To put the lining on top, and then the bonnet, so you're looking at the wrong side of the fabric, the inside out part, and then the lining, and you're going to put them on. And when we sew, we're going to turn it, we're going to leave a part at the back of the bonnet, well, or at the front of the bonnet, probably the front since the lace is going to cover, that will turn it inside out. Alright, so here we have our stack, and we are going to go to the sewing machine and sew them. Alright, I'm just going to do a straight stitch. Remember, I'm going to leave the front part of the bonnet right here. I'm just going to leave that like about a 2-inch section of it open. Okay, we got them all sewn. Now let's get them turned inside out. So you want to reach down in there between the face and the back lining. Pull them through the hole that we left. I always use like a poker stick. That was like a skewer. You can use a unsharpened pencil, like a new pencil, that works good too. Looks a little odd without the lace. Remember, the lace is going to give the illusion of the brim, bonnet brim and everything. Okay, I'm going to go hit this with an iron, and we'll come back and we'll close up the seams, and I'm probably going to top stitch around all of these too, just to give it a little bit more structure, a little bit more security around those seams. And I had the one that I had two little seams that popped out that I need to fix, and then we'll go to the lace and get that part done. All right, got them all ironed, and I was able to fold in the places where we turned it inside out so I can top stitch. So I'm just going to go around the top along the seams, do a top stitch, close those openings up, and then we'll move over and we'll look at doing the lace. Okay, we've got them all top stitched, and we're going to go over and we're going to start doing the lace. We are ready to move on to the lace stage. And if we look at the original one, we can see that the lace was slightly gathered and then sewn on facing this direction off away from the bonnet to make it look like it's the brim. And it started around here, and it looks like when they get here they twist it to keep it going the same direction. Now I had a whole bunch of different laces. I have this hand tatted like lace I'm going to put on this. It just matches well. Odd piece of lace that was done in a round. It's probably for like a dress or scarf or something. It's really too big for a pillowcase, but that also looks sort of neat. So I'm probably going to use this, as much of this, and well, let's try this first. So let's see. I'm just going to do, what I did is I went around it in a circle, and then I doubled it because we're going to gather it. So let's start with this one here. So gathering. I think I did maybe on an apron video how to gather, but just in case. So we're just going to take our thread and our needle. And this already has like holes, so it's perfect. I'm just going to go, you go in and out of the fabric or lace or whatever it is you're gathering. We're going to do that all the way down to the end. Like I said, this already has like little holes. It's perfectly spaced. There's also another part that I didn't do and I forgot that I'm probably going to do after the fact. You can barely see it. It's like a line of, it's like the seam on her bonnet. So I'm going to go back, after I get the lace done, I'll go back and do that. And I can do that slipping it without having to go through the black. I can slip it underneath there. So we'll do that. That'll be the last thing we do. You want to make sure this is a running stitch and you do not do any back stitches. You don't want to secure this. You want it to be able to move freely on the thread, because that's how we're going to gather it. Okay, we got through the end of the thing. Don't cut or anything your thread right now, because we have to position it all on our thing here. See, I'm going to start here. Oops. I want to be careful not to go through the under the backing. I just want to sew the lace to the very top. And for the most part, I'm just using a whip stitch, which means I'm just sewing over it. Nothing fancy, just picking up a little bit of the fabric, top layer. It's okay if you get the insulating layer inside. You just don't want the backing. In the grand scheme of things, if you get the backing, not any big deal really. I mean, we're just copying the original, and the original didn't have any stitching on the back. So after I get this on, I'm probably going to go back around it one more time to make sure it stays down on the front so you don't see the face. The illusion of the bonnet is kept, so I want to just make sure the lace is sort of sewn down around the face, so when it folds back, the face isn't visible, if that makes sense. See, like this way, if it folds back here, you can see the face. If it folds back here, you can't. So I'm just going to go through and do a quick stitch. And the lace hides my stitches here, so I don't have to be super neat or anything. Alright. So here's the back. In the front. That's one of them. So I'm going to go ahead and probably do the rest of these tonight, and then I'll come back and show you the finished thing. And I'll wait and save them, and we'll do the other stitch that was on there too. I'll just do that all at once, so we'll just do all the gathering of all the lace and put that on there. But that's cute so far. Here's the original one, and this one is a bit more cartoony, the face, I think. So your lace, whatever lace you choose, will alter, you know, what it looks like. So I've got 3 different laces that I'll probably be using, so they'll all be a little bit different looking. We did this one together with the lace, and I thought it looked cute, but I just felt that maybe that much lace was a little bit of a nuisance, so I didn't use that again. I did this one with the, I had that little bit, just a little bit of the same color, light turquoise blue, so that was cute on that one. I figured out on using that piece of the round piece that I had that was like for a tablecloth or something, I didn't have to gather this lace, so I was like, hey. So I used that on these 4, and I've also gone ahead and did if you remember when we looked at the original one, it had like sort of faint now because some of the lines missing, but it had like a line that's supposed to be like the seam or the hem on her bonnet there, her stitching line. So I went ahead and did that on all of these. And I thought we could do the blue one, this one together. It wasn't difficult, it's just a running stitch, just about, I don't know, that's like a 1/2 inch from where the lace was, and it just gives the illusion that it's like the hem on the bonnet. And you want to just do underneath the top fabric, you don't want to go through to the back. So it's just like a running stitch, and you just pick it up, sort of like gathering. You're just picking it up. All the way to the top. I know every once in a while I'm just doing a little bit of a backwards, so if it comes out at any point in the future, the whole thing won't just unravel and pull out. Now, when I was repairing, remember it was all ripped up here, so I repaired this one last night too. I noticed that there were 2 little black dots, and so I'm guessing it was a loop of like embroidery floss, black embroidery floss for a loop. But I don't do the hanging thing on most of my stuff, so this one I'm not going to use. I'm probably going to end up putting this in a frame. It's just a few things that annoy me. One, although this looks cute, the lace was really big. Because I was counting on wider lace, you can see like the top of the head, and it's sort of bold and weird looking. And this one, the head was poking all the way out. So I could go back and embroidery more loops around for the hair, but it's a pot holder and I think it's fine. And you know, I don't think someone's going to scrutinize the pot holder all that seriously. The important thing is they are nice thickness and they're ready to be used. And these two are for my kitchen. I picked the actual purple vintage bead sack and then the pink because my kitchen, you know, is the purples. And then I've got, you know, one for my daughter and all 4 kids basically. One for their pile that I've been making, their little piles. So those are the lady in the bonnet pot holders, and that was a really fun project, I think, to recreate. And I will scan the pattern that I made, the face and then the bonnet, and I will upload those, and I will get a link when I post this video. I'll put the link down there so you can also go trace it and have your pattern if you want to make these too. It's fun. If you're just doing one, this is a really, I don't know, maybe depending on your embroidery skills and sewing skills, one would probably take maybe an hour or 2, you know, depending on how it goes. Cut it out, find the insides, do the embroidery, sew it back together, sew the whole thing. I thought the original one, her nose was cuter. This is bigger and more cartoony than this one, and this was, I don't know, this was sort of cuter, I thought. But that's what I ended up with. And then on some of my faces, because the nose was bigger, I guess I could have cut it more, but it works. So, you know, I'm not gonna get too picky about it. Some of them turned out better against the back for the bonnet with more, you know, of the fabric behind it, which I think looks cuter. So I'm happy with them. They were fun. And, you know, like I said, it's not the Mona Lisa, it's a pot holder, so I'm not going to get too, you know, bogged down in the little minute things that I wish would have turned out better. It was fun. I hope you enjoyed doing this with me too, and I'll see you next time. Canterbury Trails Farm. Bye!